Welcome to Disability Clinic, where disability is not a bad word. I'm your host, Dr. Van, and we're back with spinal cord injury survivor and patient ambassador, Brianna Wheeler. I'm going to ask you about sort of like word choice, because in some of the conversations I've had, a lot of people don't like using the word normal. A lot of people don't like using even the word disability or disabled. And I was just wondering if you had sort of any strong opinions, or if you're just kind of like whatever words people feel comfortable with, whatever.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, it probably bothered me more until I realized that it was society that created the negative, you know, the negative definition that I have in my mind when I think about disabled. And in one of my podcasts, we talked about, what are three different words that you would change in the like synonym category as related words to disabled, because the related words when you look up disabled are like very harsh words. I can't even think of them right now, but they're just like very negative, very harsh words.
I didn't realize how rude the dictionary is.
And it makes you feel ugly. Like, is this what I am? Is this what the world views me as when they see me, And so I think now we're kind of going into a new generation of people that are like, I'm taking back the word disability. That's who I am. I'm disabled. It's like saying that I have, dark hair, or I'm Chinese. It's like, those are things that I am disabled, and if you have a negative view on it, that's on you. But my view is that it makes me powerful, it makes me strong, it makes me a warrior, and my disability is a part of me, and so I choose to embrace it.
I love the ownership and just kind of reclaiming it for yourself, because it's a part of accepting who you are. Things like queer or gay or, the color of your skin, like all of that has to do with who we are as human beings. And it's just so much healthier and better for someone to embrace that. And as opposed to viewing it as something that is frowned upon. You can't change that about yourself.
Yes. And so I think that the new generation of people that are being injured, I really hope that they can take back that word as well.
It's very empowering to reclaim words that have previously had negative connotations, but some terms can't be redeemed, and they serve no purpose other than to further marginalize people with disabilities.
One of the words that really trigger a lot of us is wheelchair bound. That one is used a lot in media and news, wheelchair
and in
bound.
hospitals.
Bound to your wheelchair. I'm not bound to my wheelchair. I do not sleep with my wheelchair. I am not like stuck to it, like it's an extension of me, and
right. It lets you get places.
Yes, it's a tool in my life. I'm disabled without my wheelchair. That's when I feel disabled. My wheelchair, and it took me time to feel that empowered, because again, it's viewed as an ugly thing. You view it as, I don't want to be in that. You're sick. Something's wrong with you. That no, this is a part of me. This helps me get places. I feel like if I would woke up tomorrow and I could walk, I would feel lost almost. Because I know how to do everything in my chair. So it's just like you adapt, but it's just like we have our negative mind to kind of battle with it and be like, no, you're doing it wrong. Everybody's looking at you. You look funny, you look ugly, you look all these things. And I kind of relate it to when you were a child. I tell newly injured people, like, you were a baby. Do you think you were just born walking, talking, and using the restroom by yourself? Like, no, you had to be taught this was the normal thing to do, was to use the bathroom this way. This is normal to walk because we can walk, to use your hands as A, B, and C, but, and we just went along with it. Like, we didn't care about that. We just were concerned about the next thing. But now that we're older, we have all these negative feelings about it. And so it creates this sadness and depression, and like something's wrong with me. And so I tell people, your thoughts are very powerful. Your mind is your own worst enemy, unfortunately, and you have to take that control back.
And there's a lot of unlearning you have to do. Like, you have to unlearn those biases and those negative thoughts, but then you have to relearn just the way your body is different. Your body has changed. Thank goodness you survived and you're alive from something that was very traumatic, and you have an opportunity to live in a new, probably different way.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard, it's a challenge. I tell people, the first 2 years are going to be hard. It seems like forever to say that, right? 2 years every day dealing with it. But it works if you work it. It does get better. You know, you have to keep on trying and trying again and trying again. And that's life, you know. Unfortunately, nobody said you were going to walk forever.
Human beings are amazingly adaptable. When we're faced with new challenges like a new injury or disability, it is reassuring that we have the capacity to adapt to those changes. But for those of us who aren't disabled, or as I like to say, for those of us who are pre-disabled, it's easy to ignore the struggles of people we don't think we can relate to because we haven't experienced firsthand what a disability or injury is like.
Disabled is like something that, you know, you kind of grow into, you know, like eventually at some point you're going to be more disabled than you are now, but we kind of avoid it. Like society kind of wants to avoid it as much as they can, right? Even though the majority of communities or societies have to deal with that, you know, at some point or another. Society puts these stereotypes on disabled people automatically in their head. Sometimes they can't think like, where was I taught this? I was never taught that this way. It was just has always been that way. You see a little kid, they're like, oh, why is she in a wheelchair? And the mom's like, don't say anything. Be quiet, come over here, you know. Yeah, like if it's like taboo, something's wrong with us, you know, we're fragile, we need, you know, the door open for us, we need all this stuff. And it's just like a very old mindset of how disabled people were. And I think how somewhere along the way in society they decided like, you know, it's better to just kind of ignore this group of individuals than to take care of all their needs as well.
People with disabilities are shunned and shamed by society. A lot of progress was made in the 1970s and 80s when disability rights activists fought for representation, and this resulted in the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, which is similar to the American Civil Rights Act and is inclusive of people with disabilities. The ADA was signed into law literally just 1 year after I was born, and I'm not that old. Watch the movie Crip Camp on Netflix if you haven't seen it already. It's an inspiring documentary.
So yeah, you're reminding me of Crip Camp. I just watched Crip Camp for the first time recently, and I cried.
Yes, me too. Crip Camp is good.
It is crazy to me how literally that was all happening like right before I was born. I mean, we're probably not that different in age. Like, it just struck me how, you know, when I was growing up, I thought it was just like, oh yeah, there are people with disabilities, like there are ramps, like that's the way it's always been. It's like, no, that's only been in place like literally since I was born.
Yeah, and things are still not accessible everywhere that we go, you know. We have to do a lot of planning. We have to figure it out, you know. We have to go through a lot of obstacles to get to where we need, and the cracks in the road and like the sidewalks. It's just like we realize that it's the world that makes us feel disabled.
Yes, the social model of disability.
Yes, the way that people look at us when we're in the store. Like, did I just escape the zoo? Is something wrong with me? You know, that's the way you feel. You're just like, oh, like everybody is looking at me, all this stuff. Of course, I have a different mindset now. I'm just kind of like, let them look at me, let them think whoever they want. I'm hoping that I'm inspiring somebody to be like, look, you were crying over spilt milk this morning. And, you know, maybe you didn't want to get up and do this grocery shopping, maybe whatever the case may have been going on in your life, that you need to see that somebody's still pushing on and that it can be harder. And I know that runs a problem inside of the disabled community as inspirational porn as well. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah.
I definitely have mixed feelings about it personally, because I feel like everybody needs to be inspired. Like, and everybody needs to, you know, have a reality check every once in a while. And if I can give that to somebody, I don't really see the damage in that. And if I can just make you realize like, hey, be a little bit more grateful, because I wasn't as grateful as I was before my injury, being able to take a shower by myself and be able to just get up to go to the bathroom. And so if I can give that to you, and now you can go on your life, you know, something different changes, how does that hurt me? You know, I don't feel like that hurts me at all. Like,
yeah, I don't think that that's not inspiration porn. I remember, because that came from a TED talk, I think in like 2014. Inspiration porn is when people with disabilities are used like as a tool to like sell things, or just to be like, oh, look at how accessible we are, look at how accepting we are. Whereas when it really comes from the people who've been through it and like authentic experiences, I think that's the only way to be truly inspiring.
Yeah, like nothing about us without us.
Nothing about us without us is a slogan that has spanned many advocacy movements across many cultures throughout history. And most recently, it's a staple of the disability justice movement. It's also the title of a book written by James Charlton in 2000 that provides a theoretical overview of disability oppression, comparing and contrasting it to racism, sexism, and colonialism. The book is hailed as a defining document in the literature of disability culture and includes interviews with disability activists from all over the world.
In reality, we can't just always portray these happy moments neither, because that's not the reality. We have sad stories. And if that's what's going to pull people in to make them have that reality check, that switch inside of their head, then like, yeah, it does suck. Of course, nobody wants to be the poster child for, you to be inspired with the rest of your life. Like, no, but I feel like if that's my purpose, if all it is, is for me to smile and live my life, I don't feel like it's hurting me.
There's like a burden of advocacy too, that we're kind of talking about, how like you've been an extrovert, you've been putting your story out there, you've been sharing with people, and thankfully that's helped lift you up, and that's been a very positive thing in your life. But then there are a lot of people I've talked to who have various disabilities, and it sucks for them to have to explain things all the time, and people coming up to them with just random intrusive questions. And there's just this really like darker side of spreading awareness because of how much ignorance there is. I don't know.
Yeah, it can definitely be frustrating. I kind of look at adults that are ignorant. I know it's easy to get irritated with them, but a lot of also disabled people talk about how open they are to talking to children about their disability. But I don't understand why they're not as open to talking to adults, because adults are just children that grew up and never learned. So you have to teach them. How can you expect them to know if you don't teach them? And yeah, it does suck that you were called upon to do this. And it is annoying, that people feel so privileged to so many questions. But overall, I go based off how I'm feeling that day. Some days I'm in the mood to talk, some days I'm not. And I get to choose how much I share with that person.
Right, you're still in control.
Yeah, you're in control, definitely, and you don't have to keep on answering them if they don't want. And you can be like, hey, that's a little too personal, you can cut them off. You don't have to feel like you are obligated to explain every single moment of your life.
That's an important lesson for people who are, at least they're willing to learn, at least they're curious, and they're not, someone who's asking those types of questions, they're probably not trying to be offensive. And so it's wonderful that you can positively engage with that, but still, put up a boundary. Like you still have to protect yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
To overcome bias, discrimination, and injustice, we have to get comfortable with things that make us uncomfortable. If you support people of all different colors, cultures, genders, and sexualities, consider supporting people of all different abilities too, since they complete the beautiful spectrum that is human diversity. Oh, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Disability Clinic for more conversations like this. Thanks for watching. Look, I'm doing a TikTok.